Guys, once again tables turned because the Z army literally attacked civilians in Crimea, those people who they swore to protect. Then a tank school in Russia spontaneously, as it always happens, was caught on fire. There is a very quiet environment along the Kherson front line. There is a very interesting and major events happening also in the east, and finally there is a coup against Putin's huge ally. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude according to this hoodie. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. That's probably my most cringe one, a ridiculous one, but guys, just let me know in the comments if I'm going in the wrong direction here, or I mean, yeah, I never plan those things, they always just come out naturally, but okay. That's not even the most cringe thing we're gonna talk about today, because one of representatives of the Russian authorities, Ekaterina Yingalicheva, yes, that's the last name, she basically said that one of the most recent aurora borealis, or northern lights, how some people call them, which were spotted in Russia, guess what? This was not a natural created one. This was created by the West because Americans, they put some particles in the air to spy and collect intelligence data on Russians, to create some unfavorable weather conditions, and just to make the life of regular Russian people much more complicated. Yes, this might sound absurd, but this is what she said. This is what was pretty much broadcasted across main propagandistic channels, and people were seriously discussing it. According to her, the name of this American program, which was targeting regular Russian civilians, is called DARPA quote-unquote Blue Ray, which is basically creating the hologram of northern lights for whatever reason. And because of this, Americans will be able to establish a new world order. Guys, I'm not gonna even try to understand the logic here, the reaction, like the connection between these phrases I just said. I just presented them to you, whatever she said, and I will leave it up to you to make your own conclusions, as always. So yeah, she did actually acknowledge that the northern lights are a fake natural phenomena, but you know guys, what is not fake? It is the Russian dude merch, which I'm wearing right now. I mean, unless it's like an AI filter or anything like this. And the most particular interest becoming right now are these green t-shirts, because the St. Patrick's is coming, and I'm personally going to wear this one, which has ridiculous Russian propaganda in the back. And guys, if you do not have any green things to wear for the celebration, please go ahead and check the Russian dude merch, especially because right now there is a 15% off for every single green item in the store. Just use the code TRDGreen during the checkout. This is truly the best way to represent the Russian dude community, and also this is a pretty good conversation starter, because guys, let's be honest, who does not know that Russia is the second best army in Ukraine? So yeah, just once again, just guys, please hurry up. The St. Patrick's is in less than 2 weeks, so please give yourself enough time for your orders to arrive. The link to the website russiandude.com is down below. But okay, now it is as always time to get serious and talk about some situation in the east, and also Russian tank school being once again spontaneously on fire, and then we're gonna talk about some major events in the south and coup against Putin's major ally. First of all, we have a video from Kazan, where basically once again, like mentioned previously, there is a local tank school, which is for some reason, like nobody touched it, nobody did anything, but the result, the effect is, as you can see, it is a very big ball of fire engulfing this building, and there is obviously no one to blame, definitely not Ukrainians. Then another video comes to us from Cherpovets, where a local steel producing factory called Severstal also received some very loud noises, but this time even local authorities later, whenever Ukrainians confirmed the fact, the local Russian authorities, they also confirmed that yes, this was the attack by most likely a Ukrainian drone. So, what do you think? As always, I'm asking you the same question, but you already know the answer. But anyways, what do you think is the response by Russians? Well, first of all, as we go to Kharkov region, there is this small settlement called Vovchansk, where as a result of a direct Russian attack with the aerial guided bomb, so the local residential area was severely damaged and some couple of houses were almost fully destroyed, unfortunately, as you can see from this picture. And then, as you go to Sumy, even more residential buildings have been severely affected as a result of Russian attacks. Ukrainians attack military-related targets, Russians respond with attacking civilian objects. Nothing changes. And well, despite the assumptions by the army that attacking civilian objects this will make Ukrainians to be afraid, it actually does exactly the opposite. It makes Ukrainians to be even more united against the Russian soldiers. And so this also gives them additional energy and strength to fight against them. Such as, for example, right here is the video also from Kupiansk frontline, where 2 Ukrainians are fighting exactly against 2 Russians. And the result, the outcome, is that 2 Russians were eliminated, and I mean the strategy once again they used is completely questionable. They were literally running across again open field to the positions of Ukrainians, who looks like at first were like, hey bro, do you see this? Like, why are they running towards us? Like, they're not even trying to protect themselves, they're not even trying to hide them. I mean, should we start targeting them? And then they started doing this, and obviously Russians were eliminated. I mean, very questionable tactics, but Ukrainians are not complaining, so let's go with it. By the way, full video of this pretty stupid attack you can see on my Patreon, the link is down below. Next we go to Bakhmut frontline, where it looks like that Russians, they continue to try to do some offensive, and reportedly in only last 24 hours they did 11 of them against the cities such as Ivanovsky, Klishivka and Andriivka, located to the southwest of Bakhmut. All of these attacks were successfully repelled by Ukrainians. And next we have a report by the British intelligence, which claims that there is some attempts of Russians to advance closer to Chasiv Yar, which looks like at this very moment is the next major city in Bakhmut frontline. But at this very moment, even according to the British intelligence, Russians do not have the capabilities to advance or even capture this city, so most likely we're gonna see some minor clashes in the next several weeks or even months. Going even more to the south to now Avdiivka frontline, Ukrainians reportedly were able to destroy an entire artillery battery of Russians located in Kamenka right here, and then there is a video of Ukrainians using FPV drones, and they're able to destroy yet another heavy flamethrower called Solntsepyok. This is not the last machine Russians are losing, this is extremely expensive and very sophisticated military vehicle, so this is a huge loss for the Russians in the east of Ukraine. But even bigger disaster for Russians happened in Novomikhailivka, located to the south of Marinka, where yet another military convoy of Russians tried to advance closer to the city, and it was entirely, utterly and completely destroyed. I would even say annihilated by Ukrainians. As a result of this complete failure, Russians lost 2 T-80 tanks, 2 T-62 tanks, 1 T-54 tank, one another unidentified tank, one infantry fighting vehicle, and 5 other military vehicles of various kinds. Yes, all this is just the result of one offensive, which they were not even able to achieve anything, because as soon as Ukrainians started destroying them, as soon as there was a huge chaos and panic, they tried to turn around, but because the road was so narrow, they were not able to do it, so they were just pretty easy targets for Ukrainians, which once again used a pretty textbook strategy of destroying the very first vehicle of the convoy, the very last vehicle of the convoy, and then just dealing with the rest, which was in the middle. Because, I mean, just if you think about it, sometimes you do not need to exaggerate and create new things. Sometimes all you need to do is to follow a simple step-by-step plan. This is what Ukrainians did in Novomikhailivka, which allowed them to very easy destroy this entire convoy of Russians. The video itself is like pretty much perfect for those of you who might be studying the military strategy, so for this reason the full version, uncensored one also, is also on my Patreon, link is down below. But first of all guys, if you don't mind and if you do like this style of daily updates, can you please like this video and subscribe to my channel? It does help a lot with the YouTube algorithm. My videos are getting recommended to more and more people, so guys, thank you so much for this. And yes, I also do remember about my promise to do legs reveal whenever we reach 242,000. So just, yeah, we are almost there. Go ahead, subscribe, and I will soon be able to stand up from this couch finally. But yes, speaking about the south, right here first of all we have a claim from Ukrainians fighting along Rabotyne front lines that Russians resumed recently their offensive attempts against the settlement, and just in the last 24 hours alone, reportedly Ukrainians were able to successfully repel 10 total assault attempts by Russians, not letting them advance at all. And guess what? Besides fighting against Russians, Ukrainians are able to simultaneously build extensive defense fortifications in the Zaporozhye front line, as you can see from this video. And these are not just your regular trenches which they dig with their shovels. This is not just your wooden structures which will be destroyed with one big loud noise. No, these are actual concrete things which are being built by bulldozers brought with the heavy machinery. So I'm personally assuming and anticipating that it will be extremely complicated for Russians to breach those new Zaporozhye defenses. Ukrainians are preparing to defend a lot against advancing Russians in the near future, which looks like once again they started to do it in Zaporozhye. But if we go to Kherson region, according to Ukrainians fighting in this area, the situation exactly the opposite, because it looks like that Russians became suddenly and very quiet on the left side of Kherson region right here across Dnipro, which is like, you know this saying, there is always a calm before the storm. According to Ukrainians in Kherson, it does feel a lot like that Russians are planning to do something. At this very moment, there is not a single attack from their side or anything like this, not a single artillery, nothing like this. So Ukrainians are very concerned, but they are prepared. But the situation is not that quiet in Crimea, because recently some representatives of the Z army literally attacked civilians in one of the local cafes. I have absolutely no idea what was the reason for this conflict, but the way the army behaved was absolutely way above that they should have done. I mean, these are unprotected civilians, right? Those people who they swore to protect. These are not even Ukrainians, these are already Russians who live on the territory of Crimea, even though the legality of them being on the peninsula is very questionable. But long story short, the Z army still decided to attack those civilians. They came like a group of several dozens of soldiers. They started shooting in the air, shooting in the ground, hitting people, putting them on the ground, and then whenever people were already laying on the ground, they still continued to hit them. Even in like boxing, in like according to just normal standards, according to just regular human behavior, whenever your opponent is on the floor laying down, you just do not hit this person, let alone when you are a soldier surrounded by your comrades with weapons, with the mask, with the armored vest, all this kind of stuff. And then you have right here unprotected civilians who once again you're kinda supposed to protect. Well, it does not look like that this is the case in this video, in this event. I personally found this video to be really emotional and full of injustice, because once again these are trained people against unprotected civilians. And I mean, the only thing I can think about is that, I mean, if the Z army cannot beat Ukrainians in the front lines, well, they gotta show somewhere else that they're the real men. So they're gonna collect 20 of their friends, go into the local cafe, just make fun, humiliate like 5 guys, and they're gonna feel themselves like they're a big people, like they are the real men. I have no idea what they were thinking, but this is what happened. Like, it does feel like very, very, like so much injustice in this video alone. Like, I uploaded the full version also on my Patreon. If you want to see it for yourself, go ahead and do it. And just let us all know, what do you think? This is very, there's simply no words, I don't know what to say. And lastly, let's briefly talk about the upcoming potential coup against Putin's major ally, the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko. Because right now there are reports that the resistance groups of Belarusian, mostly civilians, called BIPOL, which are mostly operating from Poland, it looks like that they're preparing a resistance, preparing a march, preparing to do some very active activities against the current regime in Belarus. At this very moment, at the moment of recording this video, there are claims that these BIPOL group representatives, they are actively sabotaging not just Belarus military, but also Russian military, rail tracks, planes, and all these kind of things. So if you remember, in the past, whenever there was some unexplainable things happening, and whenever neither Russian saboteurs or Ukrainians were taking the responsibility, well, maybe right now we do have the answer who was behind it all. But obviously the main target for BIPOL is the the regime in Belarus itself, because I mean this is their own country. That is why another thing what they're reportedly doing is that they are training those citizens of Belarus who are against the regime as well, and they're kinda assembling their own small personal army for the potential future actions. It is also reported that the leader of this Bipol group is a former employee of Belarusian security services, Mr. Azarov. So, let's see. Putin relies heavily on his allies, and if any single one of them stops supporting Putin, there will be a significant impact, because, let's be honest, he needs as many friends as possible. It is not easy to convince the world that whatever you are doing right now in Ukraine is something that can be justified. And in case Bipol group starts showing activity as soon as possible, this will be the worst possible timing for Putin. Because if you remember from my previous video, and by the way, if you have not seen it, it will be appearing right now to my left side, Putin right now is literally facing his last year to prove his citizens and also allies that his invasion of Ukraine is justified. So basically what I mean by that, if all things go wrong for Putin, this can be a devastating blow to his regime as well. Guys, please do not forget about green Russian dude merch, which is right now being sold with 15% discount for the upcoming St. Patrick's Day. Thank you all so much for watching my videos. Please subscribe, we're very close to 242,000. Thank you so much, patrons, for your support, and see you tomorrow.